These are the 40 brutal truths I've learned how to blow up ads so your e-commerce brand can make loads of sales. Don't make the mistake of getting good at a platform when you should be getting good at creative. When I started off, I thought I had to master every setting in the ads manager. I spent months learning custom audiences, lookalikes, campaign structures. It turns out that if you obsess over account structure and targeting, you're learning the wrong skill. When you get good at making ads that actually stop people scrolling, you can pay someone else to press the buttons. The brands that win aren't better at media buying, they're better at making ads. Part 2, publish new creative at the same rhythm every single week. If you take anything away from this video, having a consistent output of new ads, new angles, new content every week, most scaling problems would actually be solved if you just never stop creating. The longer you do this for, it will compound into a creative library your competitors can never catch. At the time of recording, my team and I have managed over $100 million in ad spend across more than 50 lifestyle and fashion brands, and we produce over 800 ads a week. Nobody can catch up to us. Your first 3 seconds are the only 3 seconds that matter. Now, when somebody is scrolling, you have less time than a blink to earn their attention. Most brands waste that window with a logo intro or a product shot that means nothing to a stranger. Now, this was me when I first started, and it was the stupidest thing I kept doing. The hook is the ad. Everything after it is a bonus. If your first 3 seconds don't create a reason to keep watching, the rest of your ad basically doesn't exist. Stay close to people that want more for your brand, not from your budget. Now, when I was starting out, all I saw was brands surrounded by agencies that were billing hours and never delivering results. I had clients come to us after burning through 3 or 4 agencies that just kept asking for more budget and never produced anything that scaled. The brands that changed everything were the ones that found partners who wanted more for a brand than they charged for. People that pushed them to make better creative, that expected their work to be world-class and were genuinely invested in the outcome. That's what you should be looking for. Normalise leaving strategies in whatever era they belong to. I used to argue with data. I had this one campaign structure that was printing money for 6 months. And when it stopped, I spent weeks trying to resuscitate it instead of just moving on. Why can't it keep working? Why does the platform keep changing? I realized that energy is better invested testing new angles instead of defending old ones. The cool part is, I don't get upset when things fatigue anymore. I don't fight it. I just allow it to run its course. And every once in a while, an old angle comes back around and just outperforms everything. And I'm happy. 6, being confident in your product isn't arrogance. It's the foundation of every ad. Now, I've sat in shoots with founders who whisper about their product like they're embarrassed to sell it. And I've sat with founders who talk about what they've built like it's the most important thing in the world. And guess whose ads perform? Every single time. You being timid about your own product is actually not going to convince or convert anybody. So lead with passion and don't apologize for what you've created. You get tested the most right when your creative is about to break through. This one I've seen over and over and over again. When a brand finds an angle that's starting to scale, the first thing that happens is it fatigues faster than expected. When you find a hook that works, suddenly every competitor starts copying it. I had a client whose founder ad was doing $15,000 a day within 48 hours of launching. And then they ran out of stock. And it's interesting how right when the creative is clicking, something tries to knock you off rhythm. And I always remind my clients, in those moments, this is where you prove your creative process and your mindset is real. And it's not just a lucky patch. Improving your creative daily is the only obsession you need. When I look back at the ads we were making 2 years ago, I genuinely cringe. And I know in 2 years, I'll look back at what we're making now and I feel the same way. That's the point. I love seeing a brand's creative get a little bit sharper every week, a little bit more refined, a little bit more emotionally honest, a little bit more scroll stopping, a little more confident in what it's selling. If you approach your creative with the attitude of just 1% better every day, and if you have a dud, that's okay, give yourself a break, but just keep making. Make that obsession the thing you chase every day. That will change your whole brand. You teach the algorithm how to treat you. I see this all the time where a brand launches weak creative and then they're upset Meta isn't spending their budget. I had a client come to us spending $1,000 a day and couldn't get Meta to spend a single cent more. And we changed nothing in the ad account. We just gave it better ads. And within 2 weeks, it was spending $5,000 a day profitably. You teach the algorithm how to treat you. If you don't set the standard with strong creative, if you don't feed it emotional hooks that actually stop people, if you don't hold that line, then the platform is going to continue delivering results that frustrate you, because you haven't given it anything worth distributing. Whereas the first time you feed it a real ad with real conviction, that becomes the new baseline. It's better to admit a product isn't converting than to spend 6 figures trying to force it. Now, this one took me years to learn. I used to think that every product could work if you just found the right angle. And sometimes that's true. But I've also watched brands burn through $50, $100, $200,000 trying to force something through the market. Oftentimes brands are built around a hero product they didn't really validate, a positioning they didn't really test, an audience they honestly didn't really research. They just launched in hope. The faster you can be honest about that and pivot, the better your business is going to be. You waiting for the perfect ad is a sign you should have launched 10 already. This was the biggest lesson I had to learn early on. I spent weeks perfecting a single piece of creative, tweaking the color grade, rewriting the hook for the 15th time. And in that time, my competitors launched 30 ads and found a winner. The fact you're overthinking is the sign. The fact that you haven't published is the proof. Every ad has to be good enough to work, and then you make enough of them that one will. The quality is the baseline, and the volume beats the variance. So you don't need the perfect ad. You need the next ad. If perfectionism scares you, inaction should terrify you. Nothing you've tested has been wasted. Now, anytime a client is frustrated by a creative that flopped or an angle that didn't land, I always remind them, you know now something you didn't know before. I've had rounds of creative where we tested 8 ads and none of them took spend. And then the insight from one of those losers became the hook for the next winner. You've eliminated a direction. And the reason why your next winner will work is because of those failures. We don't find any winning ads without testing the ones that don't work. This is just another data point on the way to something great. Everything converts better when you stop trying so hard to sell. Now, I learned this the hard way in fashion, because early on, I was writing ads the way you'd write them for supplements or SaaS. Problem, agitate, solution. Buy now. And they bombed, because fashion customers don't buy like that. The brand that has the most power in a feed is the one that doesn't feel desperate. When your ads come off as needy, as discount driven, as begging for the click, that energy transfers. That desperation is kind of repelling. When you can get to a place where your brand genuinely has something worth buying and you show that with confidence and not pressure, that's actually when scale is going to show up in your ad account. Most of your ads are talking to the wrong person. Now, this completely changed how I think about creative. Eugene Schwartz figured this out in 1966. Your audience sits at 5 different levels of awareness. Most brands write every ad for the person who already knows them and already wants to buy. They open with a brand name. They open with 20% off. They open with shop the new collection. Now that's really like 1% of people who are seeing your ad. The other 99% don't have a clue who you are. They might not even know they have a problem you can solve. When I started building ads for every level of awareness, instead of just for bottom, everything changed. If every ad you make is for the most aware audience, you're leaving 99% of your customer potential behind because you have never bothered to meet them where they actually are. If you want to learn more about the awareness levels, I made this other video on the top 5 books I've ever read on marketing, where I do a deeper dive into awareness levels. So go watch that video now and subscribe to my channel for more gold. When things get easy, go hard. I've made this mistake myself 100 times. We hit a run of winning creative for a client. Things were scaling beautifully, and I let the foot off the gas on the production volume. Within 3 weeks, the account started dying because we'd stopped feeding it. Every time a brand hits a new level and things start scaling, I watch them pull back. They reduce creative volume. They get comfortable. My whole thing is, why are you not acting the same way you were when you were desperate for sales? Because you've had a vision for your brand that was way bigger than this month. And if anything, you should go harder when things start working. Only take advice from people who have spent real money. When I was coming up, I took advice from people who had never managed a real ad account in their life. I took advice from Meta reps. I took advice from Google reps. I took advice from random people on the internet. People read a blog post and repackage it as strategy, and I followed it, and I wasted months. If a person giving you creative strategy has never managed significant ad spend on brands like yours, then their advice is gonna be theoretical. It doesn't matter how many courses they've taken. It doesn't matter how many screenshots they share from other people's accounts. It doesn't matter how many case studies they reference that aren't theirs. If they themselves have not done it, then their feedback is going to be tainted, it's going to be flawed, and honestly, they're giving you the wrong blueprint. Always find the people that have been in the accounts actually taking action, spending the money, and felt the pressure of real results. Ship it is a complete sentence. You're allowed to launch creative that isn't perfect. I know that you're worried about something going out that doesn't feel exactly right. And I used to be the same. I'd hold back because the font wasn't perfect or the music didn't quite feel right. Meanwhile, the brands I was competing with were launching ugly ads that were outselling everything we made. The thing is, people's memories are short. They're scrolling past thousands of things a day. And nobody is studying your feed the way you are. Speed beats feelings, and the ad you launch today is worth more than the perfect one you launch never. Don't compromise on the fundamentals of what makes a great ad. Now, every ad we make has to pass the same test. Does it target an emotion? Is there a promise? Is there proof? Is there zero confusion? Does it sell? Does it entertain? And is it memorable? I learned this the slow way because I spent my first couple of years making ads that looked good but didn't convert because I was skipping the fundamentals. An ad without an emotion is wallpaper. An ad without a promise gives nobody a reason to care. An ad without proof is just a random claim. And you can be creative, you can be weird, you can break every rule of format, but these fundamentals are the entire game. Break them and literally nothing else matters. Have a primary aim for every ad you make. Now, people ask me all the time, how do you know what ads to create? And my response is, how do you not? I know which emotion I'm targeting. I know which awareness level I'm speaking to. I know which transformation I'm selling. Before I understood this, I was just guessing. And I was making ads that felt good but had no strategic intent behind them. When you have that clarity, it becomes the filter for every creative decision. You stop guessing hooks and start building ads with purpose. So when you make the next ads, you understand what you've learned before and you're just moving on in the right direction to the best ad ever. You need to stop watching ads and start studying them. There's a difference, I promise you. So I used to scroll through the ad library for hours and scroll through my feed, and I'd come away with nothing useful. Just a vague sense of like what sort of looked cool. But now when I go in there, I'm sort of studying the hooks, I'm studying the structure, the emotional triggers, the way the first 3 seconds work. Not just to swipe, but to actually understand why things convert and then teach my team how to build our own versions. That shift from a passive consumption to active study is going to change the way you approach every ad you make. I've made some crazy ads which have spent tens of millions of pounds, but I'm still looking at other ads to see other ways which people are doing things. Because my way might not be the best way, and there's still loads of other people doing really cool things which I need to learn from. So I'm always looking, studying, and learning. Always assume the next batch is gonna be the one. You launch a round of creative and nothing takes spend. And I've been there a lot, right? More times than I can count. You can use that moment to panic and burn your whole strategy down, or you can assume the next round is gonna break through. Either one's equally likely. The second one keeps you producing, keeps you testing, and keeps you in the game long enough to actually find a winner. Every single time I make an ad, I think it's gonna make me millions. And that's a mindset you need to be in every time you make ads. Fix your creative process before trying to outspend your competitors. When the market gets tough, most brands try to win by throwing more money at the same mediocre ads. I see it every single month. Brands come to us spending $30, $100, $500,000 a month on ads that aren't good enough. And they keep spending more, they try and find a new ad account structure, they try and find a new silver bullet. When really they just need to sort their creative system out first so that every dollar they spend behind an ad is worth watching. Most of you guys get distracted by what competitors are spending and it takes you off what actually matters. The truth is you can't outspend anyone until you out-creative them. So if you keep chasing ad account structure changes and your creative quality slips, by the time the market opens back up, you're not gonna be ready for it. Look for bigger emotions to target in your ads. Don't avoid them. The scale of your business is directly correlated to the depth of the emotion your creative addresses. We took a fashion brand from spending $50,000 a month to spending $500,000 a month in 6 weeks. The same product, the same offer, we just stopped selling features and started targeting the emotions and the fears. That was a breakthrough moment for me. I realized that the surface level product ad has a ceiling. So instead of saying there, actually go deeper, find a bigger emotion. That is where the performance lives. Your next level of scale will cost you your current playbook. We had a creative formula working brilliantly for a client at $100,000 a month. And when we tried to scale to $500,000 a month, the same ads and the same amount of ads just didn't hold. If you want to move forward, it's going to require you to change how you've been making creative. which will mean that what's been working well will not work forever. Because if it would, you'd already be at the scale you want. So if you're not willing to reassess, let go of old winners, retire formats which aren't working anymore, then you'll always be held back by your past from building a bigger future. Discipline with your creative output builds more momentum than any single winning ad. Brands want more results, but the truth is you destroy your own momentum every time you say you'll launch new creative on Monday and you don't. You say you'll test founder ads and you don't. You say you'll film this month and you don't. I've watched it happen a dozen of times. A brand finds a winner, rides it out for 2 months, doesn't produce anything new, and then panics when it fatigues. And every time you break the rhythm, you chip away at the consistency that actually produces winners. It takes a month, maybe 2 months to find new winners. The brands that ship every week find more winners than the brands that ship when they feel like it. Decade, years to the craft of making ads, not a campaign cycle. Some brands just make one good ad and they can't shut up about it. I'm not impressed with anyone that has one winner. I've been doing this for over 7 years now, and I'm still learning every single week. When you're willing to dedicate years to studying what makes people stop scrolling, click, and buy, years of testing hook formats, emotions, awareness levels, years of refining your creative instinct through thousands of ads, trust me, nobody's gonna be able to compete with you. You need to treat your customers the way you want to be sold to. If you want more loyalty, give more value in your ads. If you want higher quality customers, be a better communicator. I always ask brands, would you click on your own ad? Would you watch the whole thing? Would you buy from it? Now, if the answer is no, why would anyone else? The more you show up with honesty, with emotional intelligence, with creative that respects their intelligence and doesn't insult them with fake urgency, the more they'll trust you, buy from you, and tell people about you. You need to tell your customers about themselves. Now, the most powerful thing in any ad is when someone sees their own life reflected back at them. I figured this out when I started mining customer reviews for ad copy. The language your customers use to describe your product is 10 times more powerful than anything you'll come up with a brainstorm. You have no idea what people are going through when they're scrolling. And that one ad at the right time for a right person might be the reason they become a customer for life. So go read your reviews. Your customers have already written your best ads for you. I promise you that. Now, if you keep getting bad results, the creative is almost always the problem. If every platform is underperforming and every agency keeps failing you and every campaign keeps tanking, I always tell the brands, check 3 things in order. First, is your offer right? That's the easiest to spot. You need to follow the Alex Hormones offer framework. Second, is your creative good enough? Now, this takes honest calibration. Third, is the product actually what the market wants? Now, I had to learn this order through trial and error. I spent years trying to fix creative when the offer was broken and trying to fix the offer when the product was the issue. You only get to blame the product after you've ruled out the first 2. 9 times out of 10, it's either the creative or the offer. Avoid vanity metrics at all costs. If you want to scale, you need to be allergic to numbers that don't matter. I've had clients send me screenshots celebrating 1 million impressions on an ad that made 3 sales. As soon as you hear someone celebrating likes and shares, run, because the brands doing 7 and 8 figures a month are spending all their time looking at MER, contribution margin, and which ads are actually taking spend in their ad account. In that space, there's no room for vanity. Panic gives bad creative direction. In those dark periods, those moments where ROAS has tanked and you want to slash budgets and fire agency and start over and fire everyone on your team, I've been on the receiving end of those calls. And the brands that make the worst decisions are always the ones making them from fear. Just know that when you are making your worst decisions, don't take the strategic decision from fear. Find somebody who's been through it, give them the data, and ask maybe 2 or 3 people you trust. That's the best way to get through those moments when you're full of doubt. 32. It's never too late to fix your creative. I don't care if you've been running the same ads for 2 weeks or 2 years. I'm telling you, today, in this moment, you have the opportunity to decide to change how you show up in someone's feed. Everybody had to start somewhere, and I've taken brands from basically nothing to $1 million a month. One of our clients was doing $6,700 a month when they came to us. And today could be the day for yours. Get rid of all of your creative crutches. That one static image you keep promoting, the same 3 hooks recycled across every ad, the stock footage you use because you're scared to get on camera, the competitor ads you're copying word for word instead of doing your own customer research. I see this every single week when I audit new accounts. the same lazy patterns everywhere. Some of you are relying on the same creative shortcuts because they're comfortable, not because they're working. If you want to find ads that actually scale, you have to let go of the lazy defaults so you have space to test the formats that could change everything. If you're addicted to refresh an ad manager, your creative pipeline just isn't strong enough. And I've been there, and I admit I still do it now. Refreshing every 20 minutes like the number's gonna magically change, because they're not. If the best thing you've got is checking your dashboard, go build some ads. Go film some founder content. Go get around brands that are creating at a higher level. If you start making things that push you creatively, that scare you a little bit, that force you to get on camera and be honest, this is way more productive than sitting there watching your numbers. Take on as much creative testing as you can handle. If you've got capacity, just make more ads, especially in formats that stretch you. If you've never done founder content, do it. If you've never tested long form, test it. If you've never tested short form, if you've never tested statics, you need to test it. The brand that's always producing will figure out through volume what actually resonates. We produce over 800 ads a week, not because we enjoy the volume for its own sake, because after 6 years and over $100 million in spent last year, I can tell you that's what it takes to consistently find winners at scale. And eventually, you'll be the brand that others study. 36, don't blame the platform. I'm talking any platform. I'm talking all circumstances. I used to do this myself. Sometimes I still do this today. When results dropped, I blame the algorithm. I blame the update. I blame the iOS changes. And at the end of the day, as soon as you blame Meta or TikTok or the algorithm for where your results are at, you lose control. As soon as you acknowledge that nobody's coming to save your ad account and that you are in control of your creative, your offer, your message, no matter what the platform is doing, you will then unlock the ability to actually move forward. Be blissfully dissatisfied with the ads you're putting out. You want to understand that what you've produced so far, you should be genuinely proud of. As small or as big as it is. I looked at work even we did 6 months ago, and I can see how far we've come. But at the same time, no one believed that you're capable of so much better. It sounds like a contradiction, but you can have pride in your last batch and at the same time know you were meant to build something greater. Make time for creative production. If you tell me creative is your growth lever, that making more ads is the answer, that content is what scales you, show me your calendar where you block time for it. I've literally asked clients to show me their calendar and there's nothing booked for creative. A lot of brands say creative is their priority, but they don't make it one. Any operational fire or last minute meeting ends up in their calendar way before the filming session they said that was important. If it matters to you, make more time. Emotional creative will always outperform promotional creative. I think about the ads that have made me buy things. None of them opened with a discount code. None of them led with free shipping. They made me feel something. They showed me a version of myself I wanted to be. They made me feel understood in a way I didn't expect from an ad. The best performing ads we've ever produced across every single brand didn't sell a product, they sold a feeling. The product was just how you got there. When you can shift your ads from promoting a product to targeting an emotion, you will change everything. Last point, and this is so important, your ad account is a mirror and not a window. A lot of you are spending time looking out the window comparing your results to other brands, staring at competitor accounts, wondering what they knew that I didn't. The truth is, your ad account is a reflection of your work and your creative. The algorithm isn't broken. The platform isn't biased against you. It's a mirror. So if you want the numbers to get better, your creative has to get better. And it starts with what you see when you honestly look at your own ads. Are they emotional? Are they honest? Are they the kind of thing that would stop you scrolling? That's the most powerful lesson out of all of them.